Chosen one. This message is not random. It found you at the exact moment your strength started leaking out of you, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, in ways nobody noticed. The kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from lack of sleep, but from carrying too much for too long. The kind of tired that reaches your soul before it reaches your body. It found you when you smiled in public but felt empty inside, when people thought you were doing fine because you showed up, because you kept going, because you didn't complain. They never saw the weight behind your eyes. They never heard the conversations you have with yourself late at night. They never felt the heaviness you wake up with and somehow still manage to move through. It found you when you whispered, "I can't do this anymore," but never said it out loud, because you didn't want to sound weak, because you didn't want to burden anyone, because you've always been the strong one, the reliable one, the one who figures it out no matter what. You've been carrying weight that nobody sees, responsibilities that weren't supposed to be yours, but somehow became yours anyway. Pressure to succeed, pressure to survive, pressure to hold everything together while you're quietly falling apart. Expectations placed on you by others, and expectations you placed on yourself because you thought that's what love, faith, or purpose required. You fought silent battles, battles you couldn't explain, battles you didn't even have words for. You tried to stay strong. You told yourself to push through. You told yourself others have it worse. You told yourself to be grateful. And for a while that worked. Until something inside you cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, just enough for you to feel it. And here's what you need to understand. That breaking was not failure, it was exposure. It was the moment God allowed the surface to split so the truth underneath could finally breathe. Because strength that never rests becomes brittle. Faith that never questions becomes performance. And endurance without renewal eventually turns into despair. God allows the breaking only when you are ready to see what has been hidden, not to shame you, but to free you. Hidden wounds you learned to ignore, hidden exhaustion you normalized, hidden prayers you stopped praying because you were tired of hoping and tired of being disappointed. You didn't stop believing. You didn't walk away from God. You didn't lose your faith. You ran out of energy. And there is a difference. Faith can survive exhaustion, purpose can survive doubt, calling can survive confusion, but pretending you're okay when you're not, that will drain you faster than any battle ever could. And that is the moment heaven starts paying attention, because God does not send signs to entertain you. He does not interrupt your life for drama or spectacle. He sends signs to intercept you, to stop you, to catch you right before you walk away. Not from him, but from yourself. Right before you make a decision out of pain instead of truth. Right before you shut down your heart permanently. Right before you convince yourself that this is all there is. You may think the sign came late. You may think it should have happened sooner, but God waits until your defenses are down. Not because he wants to see you struggle, but because that's when you're finally honest enough to receive what he's been trying to tell you all along. When you feel broken, your pride goes quiet. Your pretending stops. Your heart opens, and in that openness, clarity enters. Sometimes the sign doesn't come as a miracle. Sometimes it comes as alignment. A message that feels uncomfortably accurate. Words that describe your situation too perfectly. A reminder that reaches into places nobody else knows about. That's not coincidence. That's precision. God knows the exact second your strength dips. He knows the moment you stop asking for signs because you're too tired to hope. He knows when your silence is louder than your prayers. And he responds, not by removing everything at once, but by reminding you that you are seen. Broken does not mean abandoned. Broken means reachable. It means you're no longer hiding behind survival mode. You're no longer operating on autopilot. You're finally still enough to hear direction instead of noise. And listen carefully. What you are experiencing right now is not the end of your story. It's the shift in how the story is told. You are not being punished for doubting. You are not weak for feeling tired. You are not failing because you need rest, reassurance, or renewal. You are human. And you are chosen. Chosen doesn't mean you never struggle. It means you are refined through struggle. It means pressure touches you differently. It means breaking reveals purpose instead of destroying it. This moment, this exact moment, was designed to slow you down before you lost yourself completely, to remind you of who you were before survival became your identity, to call you back to alignment before bitterness, numbness, or resignation settled in. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. You are right where revelation happens. And if this message reached you while you felt broken, while you felt unseen, while you felt close to giving up, then understand this truth deeply. God sent it on purpose. Not to rush you, not to pressure you, but to remind you you are still held, still guided, and still becoming. Do not walk away now. Do not decide from exhaustion. Do not confuse weariness with defeat. Rest here. Receive this. Let it realign you, because the breaking didn't end you. It exposed what God is about to rebuild, stronger, wiser, and more grounded than before. Writing. When you feel broken, something important happens inside you. The walls you built to survive start to lower. The armor you wore to keep functioning grows heavy. The voice that once said, "I'm fine, I can handle it," finally goes quiet. Not because you gave up, but because you can't pretend anymore. Your defenses fall. Your pride softens. Your heart becomes honest, and honesty is sacred ground. That's when God speaks the clearest. Not when everything is loud, not when life is moving fast, not when you're surrounded by distractions and noise. God speaks when you are still enough to hear, when the weight has humbled you, when you stop performing strength and start acknowledging truth. He doesn't always speak through thunder or fire or visible miracles. More often, he speaks through alignment, through precision, through moments that feel too accurate to ignore. A message that feels personal, as if it was written with your name in it. A sentence that mirrors your thoughts exactly. A reminder that arrives at the precise second you were questioning everything you've been holding on to. That's not coincidence. That's timing. God knows when you're done pretending. He knows when you're exhausted from being the strong one. He knows when your smile is no longer convincing even to yourself. He knows the difference between laziness and soul fatigue. He knows when you're not giving up because you're weak, but because you've been strong for far too long without relief. And when you reach that edge, he doesn't shame you, he intervenes. So he sends a sign, not to magically erase your problems, not to instantly fix everything, but to interrupt the spiral, to slow you down before despair convinces you that this is all there is, to remind you that what you're feeling has meaning and that meaning hasn't been wasted. The sign isn't meant to rush you forward. It's meant to anchor you. It says, you're not alone in this. It says, I see the weight you've been carrying. It says, don't make permanent decisions from temporary exhaustion. Broken doesn't mean abandoned. Broken doesn't mean forgotten. Broken doesn't mean you failed. Broken means open. Open enough to receive direction instead of noise. Open enough to hear truth instead of fear. Open enough to be guided instead of forcing outcomes you were never meant to control. When you're open, alignment can finally enter. And alignment feels different than chaos. It feels quieter. It feels steady. It doesn't always bring answers right away, but it brings peace before clarity. It brings reassurance before resolution. You may not know what the next step is yet. That's okay. The sign wasn't sent to give you the full map. It was sent to stop you from burning the bridge you're meant to cross later. God doesn't rush the chosen, He prepares them. And preparation often feels like delay to the impatient, but protection to the discerning. Think about it. If everything had worked out when you wanted it to, you would have stepped into places unprepared. You would have attached to things that couldn't sustain you. You would have become responsible for outcomes your soul wasn't ready to carry. So God slowed you down, not to punish you, but to preserve you. The breaking wasn't meant to destroy you. It was meant to reveal where you were leaking energy, giving too much, trusting without discernment, carrying responsibilities that weren't assigned to you. And now that you see it, now that you feel it, you can't unsee it. That's growth. This is why the sign feels emotional. This is why it stirs something deep. Because it's not just speaking to your situation, it's speaking to your identity. It's reminding you of who you are beneath survival mode. You were never meant to live exhausted, numb, and disconnected from yourself. You were meant to live aligned, aware, and grounded in purpose. And purpose doesn't scream, it whispers. It whispers when the noise fades. It whispers when the tears dry. It whispers when you finally stop fighting yourself. That whisper is what brought you here. And if you're honest with yourself, you can feel it. That quiet knowing, that subtle sense that this moment matters more than you can explain. That you're standing at a crossroads, even if you don't know which direction you'll take yet. That's not fear, that's transition. Transitions feel uncomfortable because they require release. They ask you to let go of familiar pain before receiving unfamiliar peace. They demand surrender of old coping mechanisms that once kept you alive but can no longer take you forward. And God is gentle in these moments. He doesn't shove you. He signals you. He says, pause here. He says, rest before you decide. He says, let me show you what you couldn't see while you were rushing. So don't ignore this moment. Don't scroll past it. Don't dismiss it as coincidence or emotion. Sit with it. Let it do what it was sent to do. Because the sign didn't arrive randomly. It arrived precisely at the moment your strength dipped, at the moment your hope felt thin, at the moment you were close to saying, what's the point? And the fact that you're still listening, still open, still receiving, means something inside you knows this isn't over. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. You are not weak for needing reassurance. You are human and chosen ones don't quit at the breaking point. They pause, they realign, and they rise with deeper clarity than before. So breathe here, let your shoulders relax, let the pressure ease, even if just for a moment. You don't need all the answers right now. You just need to stay present long enough for direction to settle, because when you're open, guidance comes. When you're honest, healing begins. And when you stop pretending, God steps in closer than ever. This sign is proof of that. Look at you now, not where you thought you would be, not where others expected you to be, but here, still standing, still listening, still present, and that alone proves something that doubt keeps trying to erase. God is not finished with you. If he were done, you wouldn't still feel the pull. You wouldn't still care. You wouldn't still be searching for meaning in the middle of the mess. The fact that you are still here, still open, still receiving, is evidence that your story is still unfolding. What broke you did not destroy you. It positioned you. It stripped away illusions you could no longer afford. It removed attachments that were draining your spirit. It slowed you down enough to confront the truth about who you were becoming and who you were never meant to stay. The breaking was not random. It was strategic. You are not being delayed. You are being refined. Refinement is uncomfortable because it burns away what cannot go forward. It exposes weak foundations. It challenges old identities. But it always leaves you clearer, lighter, and more aligned than before. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Prepared to carry more without losing yourself. Prepared to discern instead of react. Prepared to move with wisdom instead of urgency. This season is not about comfort. It's about clarity. Comfort would have kept you asleep. Clarity wakes you up, and now you see differently. You feel differently. You no longer tolerate what once drained you. You no longer chase what once distracted you. You don't move blindly anymore. You move intentionally, even when you're unsure. That's growth. The sign you received wasn't the ending. It wasn't meant to close a chapter. It was meant to confirm one. It was confirmation that you heard God correctly. Confirmation that the discomfort had meaning. Confirmation that the process was working even when it didn't feel good. You weren't imagining the shift. You weren't overreacting. You weren't wrong for feeling restless. You were being called higher. So don't quit here. Don't walk away now. Don't make a permanent decision from a temporary moment of exhaustion. Don't misinterpret pressure as failure. Pressure reveals strength. Resistance reveals direction. Refinement reveals identity. You are closer than you think. Not just closer to answers, but closer to alignment. Closer to peace. Closer to becoming the version of yourself that no longer has to force, prove, or perform. You are stronger than you feel. Strength isn't loud anymore. It's quiet, grounded, stable. It knows when to rest and when to move. It knows when to release and when to hold. And you are chosen more than you realize. Chosen doesn't mean life is easy. It means your life is intentional. It means your steps are watched. It means your growth is protected. It means your breaking carries purpose instead of waste. That's why what hurt you didn't end you. That's why what tried to stop you couldn't. That's why you're still here. There is a maturity in you now that didn't exist before, a discernment that sees beyond surface-level distractions, a patience that understands timing matters, a depth that can hold both faith and uncertainty without collapsing. You didn't lose yourself, you found yourself. And now God is asking you to move forward differently, not rushing, not forcing, not chasing validation, but grounded, aligned, aware. This next phase requires you to trust what you've learned, to honor the boundaries you've gained, to listen to the wisdom born from experience rather than the fear born from memory. You don't need to announce your growth. You don't need to explain your journey. You don't need approval to evolve. Let your peace speak. Let your consistency speak. Let your discernment speak. Because from this point on, you are no longer operating from survival. You're operating from purpose. And purpose doesn't panic. Purpose doesn't rush. Purpose doesn't quit when it gets uncomfortable. So if this message reached you while you felt broken, while you felt tired, while you felt unsure, understand this truth deeply. God sent it on purpose, not to pressure you, not to rush you, not to overwhelm you, but to remind you, you are seen, you are guided, and you are still becoming. Rest here if you need to, breathe here if you need to. But don't stop here, because what's ahead requires the clarity you're gaining right now, and you're ready, even if you don't feel like it yet.